think you'll enjoy the program. We're doing something that we've never done before in the fashion of a panel, and hopefully you'll get something out of it and enjoy it. God bless.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for inviting us to come and sing for you as you're getting ready to have your luncheon. As he said, this is the chamber choir from Concordia Lutheran High School. These are 16 individuals selected from a larger 74-voice concert choir. And as he said, the larger choir program in whole has won the TAPS 4A/5A state championship 7 out of the past 8 years. So this is my 4th year teaching at the school. I'm very blessed to have the singers that I have. They're very, very talented. You'll hear that in a second. But just thank you again for inviting us. We're going to start out with some pieces we performed at our fall concert, and then we'll finish with some Christmas songs as we get ready for, obviously, the Christmas season. And then by request, we do have the national anthem at the end that we'll do to close out our set. So while you guys are getting food, we'll kind of give you a little entertainment, I guess. So this first one here is a spiritual called Every Time I Feel the Spirit, and it features one of our juniors, James Swanson. You can raise your hand, James. He has a solo, so we hope you enjoy Every Time I Feel the Spirit. We adore you, O Christ, and we bless you, for by your holy cross you have redeemed the world. We adore you, O Christ, and we bless you, for by your holy cross you have redeemed the world. O Lord, have mercy upon us. Amen. So that is the text for this Latin piece called Adoramus Te.
Be careful.
into some of the Christmas pieces for you. We're going to do three. I'm going to introduce them all right now, so we just go back to back to back. The first one is going to be Lo How a Rose They're Blooming, which I'm sure most of you will recognize. And then we will do quick versions of We Three Kings and Silent Night. And then we'll close with the national anthem. So this is Lo How a Rose.
schedules to come and sing for us. So thank you so much. Hi, my name is Lori Klein with Klein Wealth Management, and I'm going to have the privilege of being involved in this organization, whose mission is to help develop and encourage Christian leadership. And in light of that mission today, we have 3 wonderful members who are very successful not only on earth, but in the world's eyes, but also in God's eyes. And they're going to share their wisdom with us. So we're having a moderator panel today. It's going to be 3 different questions that we ask them. And then we also want to save time for anyone to ask them questions at the end. We have Paul Pizzi with Paul, would you raise your hand? With the Environment Group. They're management consultants to mainly energy and chemical companies. And our next guest is Jim Adams. Not guest, these are longtime leaders of this organization, I'm sorry. And Jim Adams is a longtime entrepreneur who has started many successful businesses. The last one, American Coatings, he just sold, and he's now assisting his son in the pharmaceutical business. So Jim Adams, and then Jack Frey, a longtime residential real estate developer since 1976. So thank you all 3 for being here today. Give them a hand. This is going to be on the hot spot. What we're going to do is ask the first question of all of you. And I'm going to, let's see, when I do this, that means you've got 1 minute to go to the next one. But this first question, we'll start with Paul and work down this direction, is for the next 3 minutes, describe your career path and your current or most recent job.
I'm glad she doesn't have a whip, just a finger is good. I like that. Okay, I'm a chemical engineer, and I went to Villanova, a little basketball school on the East Coast. Started off with Sinclair Refining, and it soon became BP. Arco and BP split up Sinclair. And so most of my time was spent in a refinery up on the East Coast, running the refinery. And then in 1975, I became the environmental manager there. Environmental was just getting started. And about a month later, in my first month, the tanker at our dock was blown up. It actually got rammed by a tanker from across the river, and 28 people died. And it changed my whole perspective on safety and operations ever since then. And so soon after that, they wanted to transfer me to Cleveland, which is where BP was headquartered at the time. And I said, no, but hell no, I ain't going to Cleveland. Anybody knows me, anything under 60 degrees I hate. This weather everybody loves now, I want summer back. I just love it. So I wasn't going to go to Cleveland. I looked for a warm place, came to Houston, and fell in love 10 seconds after I got here. And I'm definitely a Texan through and through, not by birth, by choice. Started working for a company called Pace Consultants here, and then a year and a half later, 5 of us left Pace to start a company called Pilco and Associates. And there for 22 years at Pilco, and then about 10, 12 years ago, we started the environment here in Tomball. And we sold our company in February of this year. And so I told them I'd work for 2 more years. So I have a year and a few days left to go before I can retire and be like Jim here. So what do? We do a lot of mergers and acquisitions, due diligence work. We help companies that are buying refineries, chemical plants, oil and gas, look at the environmental liabilities and what they may be doing, whether they're buying or selling them. We do a lot of helping them with long-term strategy and direction around environmental health and safety issues. And one of my passions, and it goes back to the tanker incident, is process safety. And process safety is different than personal safety, where you're worried about people falling off the ladder or getting hurt or hurting their backs. Process safety is keeping the plant from blowing up and having explosions like we saw here the last number of years in Texas. So that's, I get my time? Good.
Be fast, huh? Mine's a story of, starts off with like a family business. My family was immediate family was in a paint business. We manufacture industrial paints. Some of you may not realize paint's been around a long time, since Noah's Ark. So that's what we did, and they were a special type of coatings called protective coatings. And they were made to give you longevity to steel, like for offshore platforms, or linings for storage tanks, real specialized type coatings. My mentor was my father. I worked in that business on the weekends, every summer till I got out of high school, I guess, and learned a lot of things just growing up in a family business and seeing things happen, dinner table discussions and that sort of thing. I went to Texas A&M. I played on a football scholarship. We had a good team there. We had what they call the Cinderella team. I'll tell you what that means later, but it's all good. But we had a good team, and then I majored in chemical engineering while I was there, and I would have made a lot better grades if I hadn't have played football, but I did that. I wouldn't have taken anything for it. But then my senior year was really stiff in engineering. You weren't able to get jobs. Engineers were just real plentiful, and I had an opportunity to go to work for was a local company, Magnolia Tomball, called the Superior Oil Company, and I worked for them for 3 years. And then my father had bought his business partner out and asked me to come into the paint business, and I really loved that business and had grown up in it, so I felt like I was very familiar with it. I worked as a sales manager we did a lot of business throughout the United States. We were in the northwest side of Houston. We also worked in several foreign countries. I was a sales manager, ended up being a sales manager for him, and we had about 20 salespeople around the United States and the world. He got an offer that he couldn't refuse in 1981 and sold the business. Prior to that, in 1976, we had bought out Exxon's paint company, and it really made us a large company as far as paint companies go. He sold the company in 1981 to an English company, and I worked for my father just like everyone else did, and I went through a time there that was kind of tough. I had a couple of girls that were going to go to college, and it was my feeling that the Lord just set me there for 3 years, and I prayed every day for a message when it was time to leave. I guess after 3 years I learned the Lord was testing my patience, and I needed patience. So after the third year I got the message and I went out and started in the real estate business. Well, that's a very smart move because interest rates were like 21%. And the savings and loans debacle was around, and people could get property for 50 cents on the dollar. So anyway, we tried it for a year, and me and another fella, and ended up couldn't make it go. So we went back into the paint business. That was what we knew. We started a company in Tomball called American Coatings. We started in 85. That was probably the worst time to start a business because that was another one of these oil crunches. And we were very blessed, and we ended up, y'all all saw it on TV. Our place went in flames 2010, and we lost everything. And then we're on 2920 near Klein Cemetery. We got back on our feet, and
20 seconds.
Then we had an opportunity to sell, and we did sell. And then my son asked me to come into his business, and that's how I got in the pharmaceutical business.
Thank you.
Too long, sorry.
No, it's fine, Jack.
I had the opportunity, I went to Texas A&M and got out and spent a couple of years in the military. And then after the military, my wife and I became house parents, built a Hershey School in Hershey, Pennsylvania. We had 35 boys in a 15-bedroom farmhouse. I took half of them out and milked the cows in the morning, and the other half went in the kitchen to help my wife cook 65 eggs for breakfast. And we had an incredible time. But after a year or so, we came back to Texas, and my dad had told my brother and myself that whatever we did in life, if we would learn to sell on commission, we'd always have a job. And he had a business that's selling cooking utensils and china and silver, and directly to individuals. And I was selling into work selling for him, and we were doing very well. And I just have to tell you what happened. I was selling, but I find myself in apartments with these working girls. And sometimes I found myself in apartments with a single girl. And I had 2 close calls sexually. And I realized that if I didn't change, I would maybe do something that would ruin my marriage and my family. And I quit that job. Just the Bible says, don't fight it, get out of there. So I quit the job and started selling chemicals, cleaning chemicals to businesses. And we did very well. We were making a lot of money and started investing in land. And when you start investing in pieces of land, just buying and selling, sometimes some pieces don't sell very fast. And so instead of trying to sell all the big pieces, we would break it up and try to sell little pieces, and that became my job. And I found out that I loved to do that, and started developing country, residential, large lot home sites and around in Tomball. I developed, my first big one was Rosewood Hill, and then Holly Creek, and then Holly Lakes, and New Kentucky, and Timber Green, and then finally Hammeadow Ranch. And I got into that just because we had to try to figure out how to get rid of some of those pieces of land. And that's what I found out that I love to do.
Thank you, Jack. And Jack, if you wouldn't mind beginning on the next item, which you kind of already talked about this, but what does God look like in your everyday business world, and how does that differ from the role he plays in your personal life?
Okay. How does my relationship with the Lord differ in my business life versus in my personal life? Absolutely zero difference. Amen. God is in control. Okay. Again, no matter what we do, in my opinion, as a believer, our number one lifetime challenge is to be in the center of God's will, what He wants for us to do. I have a problem with in the Christian world that we're in, some people saying that they're in full-time Christian work. I disagree with that because I say that as believers, we're all in full-time Christian work. Some have other people helping to pay for their way so they can spend more, concentrate more. But all of us, even if we're in business, we are in full-time Christian work, and He's number one.
Amen.
Thank you. Jim, was there a defining moment that you became sure that you were following the Lord's will in your career?
When you ask that question, it seems to indicate maybe one single thing. I'm pretty hard-headed. That's probably a good trait and a bad trait, but the Lord usually had to knock me upside the head to get my attention and for me to listen. One of the important areas in my life where I really got the message is when I was starting out on my own from working in my father's business after he sold, and I was in the real estate business. We worked like a dog trying to get listings and that sort of thing, and trying to do partnerships where you would divide a piece of land between investors, and each one would pay for 10% of the land or what have you on a yearly basis, and then you would hold the land and sell it. Well, there was 2 things that were real indicators there that are kind of humorous. Number one, we had come close to some really large deals. One was about $27 million, and the other one was about a $4 or $5 million deal. And we were, the buyer and the seller were real close, but we never could make a deal. And And then we had 3 or 4 more deals that would just fall out right at the end. It looked like it was going to make, it was going to go together. The buyer and seller were agreeable, and then something would blow up. And so I knew that was the Lord telling me I better find something else. And so that was an indicator, but I've always prayed that I'm not any kind of genius. I'd always prayed that the Lord would let me know when I was going in the wrong direction, if He would put a wall in front of me and guide me in all my decisions. And as hard-headed as I am, that's probably what I need, because I set goals and I try to go after things, and sometimes to a fault, and that I need to be, I need to have things come up to steer me in different directions. And I feel like the Lord knows us better than anybody else. And you have probably a different relationship than I do. A lot of them, things that happen are real humorous too. It's just, hey dummy, I've told you this once, here it goes again. So that's kind of how the Lord has dealt with me.
Thank you. Paul, similar question. Was there a specific time God spoke to you very clearly about your job?
Yeah, there really were two specific times that I mean, many more, it's not just once, but 2 specific times I share with you. One is the time to change jobs. And so I told you before, when I came to Houston, we started a company called Pilko & Associates, and had 4 partners, and one of my partners was a wind-blown bully who chased all the other partners out or forced them out. And I was the last one, and I was forced out in 2000. In 2000, and so as I was exiting, I was kind of feeling sorry for myself, a little bit bad, and so I decided one afternoon, what the heck, I might as well just go play golf. What am I going to work here? There's nothing to do here, so I went to Glenlock Farms, and I got on the second hole in the tee box, and all of a sudden I heard a voice, just as clear as you hear these folks' voices up here, and it was Jesus talking to me. And for 17 holes, he talked to me, and he said, "Are you crazy? Look what I've done. I've given you," I had 2 specific job opportunities at the time. One was with a big company called Marsh McLennan, a big insurance broker. When I started a consulting practice here in the Houston area, and the other one was with the firm I'm with now, eBarman, which were my partners from the firm that we got forced out of. And so he got my attention and told me that, and it's the best thing ever happened to me. But I could hear him loud and clear saying, "Look what I've done. You're not even paying attention to what I've done. I've set you up here to go with this, your friends and people that you trust." And so he always leads us to a better place. The second one was kind of about being faithful. And when we started this company, the first several years, it was kind of touch and go. We kept our salaries way, way low, make sure we could make it. And one day, Linda and I were talking about church funding, how much we're going to give the church, and we had heard several sermons about tithing. Our friend Kevin Rudolph, the senior pastor of our church, where several months ago, talking about that day, and we just decided we just need to tithe. This is the right thing to do. We're just going to tithe. And literally 3 weeks later, our business just took off, and it just, it's been that way ever since. And so God is amazing. He's faithful. You cannot give him. He's just amazing. Wow.
Thank you. Paul, if you would continue with the next question, which this is the same question of all 3. And it's, what advice would you give to new business or an old business or someone contemplating a business? What are the top 3 questions every person should ask themselves who desires to be a Christian business leader? So that's the question for all 3 of you. Paul, if you would begin.
Sure. So this will be from a perspective of a small company, not an Exxon or BP or a Walmart. So it's different. If you're in a company like that, there's different things that you have to deal with. But from a smaller company, if it's your company, the first thing is to talk to your partners, about integrity. How you can operate the business, and where's integrity going to play into that? And it's, as Jack said, it has to be the same. In my mind, it has to be the same every day, whether you're home or the office. And you need to have your partners on board with that, because if you're operating one way and your partner's operating a different way, that's the way your business is not aligned. And so one of the things we did at the company I talked about before, we all got forced out. We had it was a performance-based compensation system where if you had bonuses every year, it was based on performance, and it was we had something called sales credits, where you every time a job was sold, you told what your role was in those. So of course everybody's blowing up their part in that sale. Everybody's saying I sold all of it. And it was dog-eat-dog, it was bad word eat. So when we started the new company, we decided that every distribution, every bonus we got would be based on percent ownership. And so if you're having a good year, you still got, if you're a 20% owner, you get 20%. If you're having a bad year, you still get the 20%. Because people don't change who they are. And everybody can have a good year or a bad year. So we kept to that, and we ended up losing a couple people who didn't like that. We wanted to do, I had a good year, pay me more. We just stuck to that, and I think it's important to decide how you do that. Another one is to pray for your business. So if you have partners that will allow you to pray before each meeting, or will be receptive to that, I think you should do that every time you meeting. I tried that in this company, and a couple of my partners said, can you hurry up, get through this prayer pretty quickly. So I stopped doing that, but what I didn't do is I prayed before every meeting and before every major decision. I prayed for the company and for our decisions. And that, that's been great. And the other one is to avoid secularizing the company. So, happy holidays. I hate happy holidays. So I have insisted on Merry Christmas goes on our Christmas cards, all my emails, clients, I don't care whether it's a big company that doesn't use it. Just keep Christ, in the workplace, not just in Christmas, but in what you're doing. And I also have a couple of books on my desk that when people come in, they know kind of where my alliance and allegiance is.
Thank you. Jim, same question?
Well, I think one of the most important things is similar to what Paul said, but take God as your partner. In my business, I'm talking about starting from scratch. In that time, that you've got to be willing to work. You've got to set some goals, and you've got to pray that God will put you in the right direction. And because He knows all of us. He knows what's around the corner, and I never ceased to be amazed once I started my business and got it erected. Is when we would need an employee, let's say we needed a truck driver or we needed a salesman, I would pray for that person and ask God to send him if it's His will. And lo and behold, this is the way things happen. It was on a Saturday, and I was working late. We aren't generally working on Saturdays, and we had been praying for a truck driver. It seems like an everyday deal to you, but it's very important to deliver paint. Don't deliver it, you don't get paid. And I was sitting at my desk, and I was the only one at the plant, and someone comes in the back door. Well, that wasn't really unusual, because sometimes people come in to get paint. And this guy comes in, and he says, I'm just wondering if y'all need any workers. And I said, well, what do you do? He said, well, I'm a truck driver. And he said, I was delivering paint for this company, and they cheated me out of some money. And basically, we did a little checking on him, and he was very reputable, and he's still with us today. But I can't tell you how many times, I guess that's the humor of it. God has a humor, and He lets you know that, hey, you're not really the one in control. You just can keep it between the lines. I prayed that the Lord would let me keep it between the lines, because He's going to take care of the heavy lifting. And that's the way it worked. When I lost my company in 2010 in a fire, I couldn't talk about it without breaking down. I'm 65 years old. I couldn't talk about it without breaking down like a baby. We'd been in business for 26 years. I was ashamed of that, but nevertheless, that's all I could do. And the Lord re-erected that, and we were able to sell it after a short period of time and honor our employees to give them jobs. One thing I thought was real key, and some of you may have businesses, we had chaplains in the workplace come here once, and they talked to us. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they have chaplains that they put in with your businesses. You pay a small fee to have them come, and they come once or twice a month, and they minister to your people. You never know what they're talking about or what the needs are unless they tell you. But you know, we had told them that our main thing we want everybody to be confronted with Jesus Christ and to be able to accept Him as a Savior, and that was the one reason they were there. And that's an ongoing program too. But we had people from $10 an hour to salaried people that were, you know, 6 digits. So it's a lot of different people, a lot of different dynamics. And I can't say that I would be good with some and not good with the others. I mean, I don't speak Spanish. We have some Spanish-speaking people that work in the back. And the only Spanish I know is "worky today." That's all I know. So no Spanish, but these people had bilingual people. And it was just a great thing to bring God into the business in such a way that you were confident that they would be presented with the gospel.
Thank you. Jack?
Okay, I want to go back just a second and talk about one of the things that I didn't cover before, describing a situation where the Lord's idea of success conflicts with the world's idea of success. I think that's important. And the way I see it, the world's idea of success, I call the 3 P's: popularity, position of power, and having possessions, money and wealth. And you have those things, the world says, man, that's a successful person. And sometimes, irregardless of how the person achieved those things, maybe they cut some corners, maybe they were unfair to some of their employees, or took advantage, unfair advantage. Lots of different ways of cutting corners to achieve the secular ideas of success. And whereas the Lord's idea of success is having the Lord as number one in our personal life and our business. And knowing this, and this is important, that our character, the way we handle things on any one particular deal is more important than the profit we make. Now, don't be confused. We're in the business of making profit. We have to make a profit. We're in the business of that. But on any one particular deal, our Christian character is always more important than that. Now, the 3 questions that I would ask myself or have anybody ask regarding starting a business, and that is, number 1, is this a job that I would love to do? I believe that God desires every one of us to be in a business that we love as soon as we learn to do what we have to do. And for some of us, that takes a long time. But in the long run, I believe God wants us to be in a business and be doing things that we love to do. Number 2, is this a job that I can make a profit at, while at the same time having a solid testimony for the Lord? Number 3, do I have the talents and resources to do the job correctly and in a biblical way? And if I can answer those 3 things, then I might just jump into that deal. Now, incidentally, my favorite motto every day is do the very best I can do every single day, and leave the final results to the Lord.
Thank you.
That's great, Jack. That was great.
Not only do you have such a wonderful test of faith with the Lord, but you're taking that and you're showing anything you want. They're said that their lives are open books. Is there anyone that would like to ask them a question? I'll come down here. Okay.
It's a two-part question. First part is, each of you spoke in reference most of all about partnerships, or people you're in partnership with, or investments. You invest bought land with other people who invest their money. Do you not find critical that you do that with people who are Christians? And should you consider doing financial deals, partnerships with non-Christian people?
Who are you asking?
Anyway.
Well, I think you have an idea of, well, in Christianity today, a lot of people say they're Christian, and sometimes their walk is not like their talk. Sometimes you don't necessarily know going in, but you can tell by the fruits. I think about a particular situation that my son got in, and thank goodness he still asks me questions. But he was going to start a business with a non-Christian, and he said, "Dad, what do you think about that?" And I said, "Well, Bo," I said, that's not biblically correct. You need to be equally yoked with your partner." And of course, like a good son, he went on and did it anyway. And he found out in just a few years that what he had built, people had gone behind him and tried to take and knock down for their own gain what he had built. And really, that's how some people live. I mean, people don't have a conscience. They don't have any moral compass. The sky's the limit of what they can do to you or with you. So I think your first choice is to always have somebody, go in with your eyes open and try to have a good feeling on that. Obviously, your partner may not be as, this sounds facetious, I guess, as spiritual as maybe you are, or maybe have the deep belief that you do have. In that case, you lead by example, and with all your people too, and you try to change and make things better.
Okay, just because I'm a self-employed entrepreneur type person like you and Jack, but all of them more involved in corporate structure. So what does a person do when he finds himself working for a corporation that doesn't really have a mission statement in reference to morals and ethics, not much one anyway? And should a person just keep enduring the abuse of other people in a business situation, or should they move out and move on to something else? I answer the question, but that's not so easy to do.
Well, sometimes the situation is that you have financial, in my case, you have financial problems in that you need to stay in the situation for a particular period of time because you can't get out if you get yourself in. So, you try to your best to remedy the situation, and basically, through prayer, the Lord will lead you out of it. But yeah, if you can't change and you're in a situation, all of us as being Christians, it goes against our backbone when non-Christian things are brought up and done, and things you don't believe in. So you've got to get out of there.
So Pat, in some situations, in fact, I think in many, we don't want Christians to get out of places because they're operating non-Christian. I mean, look at our school system. We've lost God in our schools, and we can't just abandon. So I found that if you're a witness and you operate with integrity and you can show them the people you work with that you're committed to the Lord in this better way and be witness to the people, as Jim said, lead your people. I think that's important. I mean, it's easy to walk away and you just say, God, sometimes it's a situation you don't want to be in because it's not operating biblically and you're in a situation where you're doing things that may not be appropriate. You need to get out of there. But we need to be witness. We need to be the salt in the workplace, I think.
My thoughts on this partnerships and stuff is that believers, we're not to be unequally yoked together, just as in a marriage, that in a business partnership, that where you have just a plain partnership like that, that would be a partnership with believers. And then there's another type of situation that I personally see, and that is where it's going to be a pretty big investment, and maybe you have you're totally in control, or you have a partner that's going to be running the thing, but you have a whole separate group of investors that are just, it's laid out, and they're just investing money and do not have control of the situation. And I can see how you can bring investors in that are not believers, but I'm saying that from a partnership standpoint, be not unequally yoked together.
Thank you.
You see that?
Any other questions?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Thank you, gentlemen, for sharing the wealth of knowledge that you guys have accumulated over decades. But from a competitive standpoint, I find I'm relatively new in my business, and I'm very competitive by nature. But at the same time, I don't want to have an attitude of tearing down those who I compete against in such a way that elevates me above them. How have you guys negotiated through that or navigated through that? With you guys, all three of y'all have been in competitive situations, and I just wanted to know how you guys approach that from a Christian standpoint. And being the salt and light, as you talk about in our industries, our respective industries, but not being jerks about it.
Well, I'll start. I think it's how you handle the situations that's important, because we're all competitive. I mean, the three of us wouldn't be successful in our businesses if you're not competitive. So if you're in sports, whatever. But it's how you handle it, and I think how you treat the people that either you're competing with or that maybe have wronged you, and if you just keep operating with integrity and you just keep not kind of stooping down to the level that a lot of people deal with in business. I mean, that's my answer, and that's what I think you need to do always.
I was taught early on by somebody a lot wiser than me that you never get ahead by knocking your competition. You might know someone that might be doing something, some kickbacks or things like that, or you can smell a skunk when you get close to one, and you're not going to help yourself in knocking that person. People need to see what you're about, and you just have to rise above it. In some accounts, let's face it, you have to have a mentality where if I don't get that account, maybe I really need it. Maybe that's going to make my month or make my year. If you handle yourself in a Christian way, in an upright way, and you're the example, the Lord is going to replace that with something that would be even better and longer lasting than what you're losing. It's never fails in my life.
In the development business, we always have competition out there. They can buy a piece of property in our development, and they can go to competition. And I just agree with what they're saying. The way to sell them on your property is to sell them on the pluses, not on somebody else's down. In fact, what we want to do is have a development that has so many pluses that we invite people to say, go drive through the other developments, compare it, and then if you like ours better, come on back. so we just fair, to be honest, and that doesn't keep you from touting your own benefits, because that's what we want to do.
Well, I have a question since you're talking about someone maybe not competing in the proper way. Have you ever confronted it and reported it? What was your outcome in dealing with something you saw that either wasn't according to law or concerning other people, maybe the same level of business or people you were contracting with, subcontractors? Did you just pass it by and let it go on, or did you report it, and did you find any results in you trying to do the right thing?
I couldn't understand.
Well, I think what we were talking about is something probably milder and less sinister, but a legal thing or something like that.
Yeah, or maybe someone is not fully paying someone as a subcontractor, or they're not qualified, or they're competing with lower standards, maybe construction or the materials, that type of thing. Did you report it, or did you let it go, or how did you deal with it? Because if you're doing something and you're trying to bid on a contract, they have a lower bid, you have a higher one, and you can tell that they have outdone you by doing the wrong thing. Did you report it?
Well, on something like that, I think you know your benefits over the competitors. There's nothing wrong with showing the customer or the person what your benefits are and what theirs are, but you better be sure your information is right, because if you tell that customer that he's using a substandard pipe or something like that, you better be that way. You better be sure, or that ends up hurting you. I don't see anything wrong with that type of a comparison. Now, I had veered from my policy years ago, and I never got away from it again, where I did knock someone to the customer, and it was a big job that I wanted. And guess what? I didn't get it. So, and then I said, well, doggone it, I knew I shouldn't have done that. What I said was true, but, you know, it doesn't matter.
Lori, one more thing. I think with the time, I think people are going to need to go. So let me just make one comment to your question. Back in the 70s, excuse me, in the 80s, we were doing some site selection for a company that wanted to build a plant in Louisiana. I don't know if maybe Cajun friends here, but the landowner came to us as the consultant and said, it'll cost you $1 million to get this, and kind of under the table, $1 million bribe basically to get it. And so we immediately went back to our client and said, we're out of this. If you deal with it the way you want to, but from our side, we didn't go to the police or anything like that, but we backed out and we don't want any part of that. You don't want to be associated with that. But that company finally ended up getting that property, so who knows? Right.
Thank you. Thank you. We're going to go ahead and conclude because it's close to 1:15. But up here we have 3 gentlemen that if you want to come up and talk with them afterwards and ask questions personally, it's a wealth of knowledge and experience. And Julie, they have shown us God is their CEO, and that's what we strive to be in our own businesses. So I also want to remind you this is a free will offering for the food. And it runs $10 a
I want to say something. Okay,
and so if you want to feel so inclined, you don't have to. But if you want to do a free will offering for the lunch, it does have to incur the cost. But none of our meetings have a charge. So please come, bring your friends. The Lord provides for this organization for years. So thank you all so much for doing this. It's been wonderful.
Lori, I was going to say the pleasure is ours. I'm not probably like these guys in that I've not ever been on a panel like this, but I'd encourage you to go back over your life and see how the Lord's led it, because a lot of times I'm guilty of that. I don't sit back and think about where all I've been and where I've come from, how the Lord's worked in my life. But it causes you to do that. So if you ever get on a panel, I'd suggest you to do it. It's probably better for you than the people that you talk to. And it really builds your faith even more. Thanks.
Amen.
Have a good day. Merry Christmas.